This is the fifth video on equations of lines. Equation of a line perpendicular to another line. So we're going to talk about perpendicular lines. Two lines are perpendicular if their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. This means that the slopes have opposite signs. So opposite means one positive and one negative. So they're opposite signs and are reciprocals of each other. That means that the numerator and denominator are switched. Okay, here's an example of two perpendicular lines. The lines intersect at a 90-degree angle. These are 90-degree angles right here. Examples of slopes of perpendicular lines. M1, so that's our first line. If the slope of one of the lines is 2/3, then what's the other slope? Well, we have to switch the sign, and we have to flip the fraction. So flip it and switch it. Yeah, that even rhymes. Flip it and switch it. So M2 is -3/2. So we flip the fraction and we switch the signs. This is done when it says perpendicular. The last video we did was on parallel. Parallel, you use the same slope. Perpendicular, you have to flip it and switch it. Okay, so if M1 is -4, what's the other slope? Well, any number is that number over 1. So this is 4/1. So the reciprocal of that would be, yeah, that's right, 1/4. So 1/4, and how about the sign? If this one's negative, the other one has to be positive, right? So M2 is 1/4. Next one, M1 is -8/5. If you flip it and switch it, what do you get? 5/8. That's right. Okay, so perpendicular. Flip it and switch it. Here's our first problem. Write the equation of the line that satisfies the given conditions. Express the final equation in slope-intercept form. It contains the point 4, 17 and is perpendicular to the line y equals 1/3 x plus 5. Okay, since the lines are perpendicular, the slope of the desired line will be the opposite reciprocal of the slope of the line given. The line given is already given in slope-intercept form. Compare to y equals mx plus b to determine the slope. Okay, so they're perpendicular. This line is already in slope-intercept form. It's already got y by itself. What do you do when you don't have y by itself? That's right, you get it by itself. So the slope is 1/3. But we're not going to use 1/3. We're going to use -3 because we have to flip it and switch it. So you flip the 1/3 to 3/1, which is 3, but we have to change the sign. We don't care about this 5 over here in the equation. All we need to know what the slope of this line is. So we took that number and you flipped it and switched it. So -3 is the slope that we need for our line. The point, we're going to use the same point, 4, 17. So we can go right to y equals mx plus b so we can find out what b is because we have our slope. We're not going to use 1/3. We're going to use -3 because we have to flip it and switch it whenever it says perpendicular. Okay, so y is 14, m is -3, x is 4. We're going to substitute the point and slope into the formula. Simplify and solve for b. 17 equals negative 3 times 4 plus b. Multiply these two numbers. That's negative 12. Add 12 to both sides. So b is 29. We have our m. Remember, don't use 1/3. You have to flip it and switch it. We use negative 3. So there's our m. This is our b. We could replace the slope. We could replace the slope-intercept form with m and b. So y equals negative 3x plus 29. Okay, let's do one more. Same directions as last time. This time it contains the point 4, negative 3 and is perpendicular to the line. Perpendicular. Flip it and switch it. Perpendicular to the line 7x plus 3y equals 21. Okay, so we need to know what the slope of this line is. But we're not going to use that slope. We're going to flip it and switch it once we figure out what the slope of this line is. It's not in slope-intercept form, so what are we going to do? Right, we're going to get it in slope-intercept form. And that's what this says here. Since the lines are perpendicular, the slope of the desired line will be the opposite reciprocal. Opposite means different sign. Reciprocal means we have to flip the fraction. It will be the opposite reciprocal of the slope of the line given. Then we'll compare to y equals mx plus b to determine the slope. So we have to get this in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so we wrote it down to get y by itself. Right, subtract 7x on both sides. Can't subtract 21 minus 7x because they're not like terms. So we're just going to write the x term first. So 3y equals negative 7x plus 21. Almost there. We got to get rid of that 3. So divide by 3 on all three terms. And this negative we usually write in the middle of the fraction. These 3's cancel. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So y is equal to negative 7/3 x plus 7. Now we could observe what the slope is. The slope is negative 7/3. It's a number in front of the x. It's the coefficient of the x term. So we're comparing that to y equals mx plus b. So our slope is negative 7/3. But no, we're not going to use negative 7/3. We're going to flip it and switch it. We do that whenever it says perpendicular. If it were to say parallel, then you would use the same number. We would not flip it and switch it. Only when it says perpendicular. So we're going to use 3/7. And our point, just rewriting it over again, we're going to use 4, negative 3 for our point. Going back to writing y equals mx plus b, we need to find out what b is. Because we have our slope, which is 3/7. We need b. So 4 is going to be replaced. 4 will replace x. Negative 3 will replace y. 3/7 will replace m. Okay. Anytime you have a whole number, put a 1 underneath it, or an integer. If you have any number, positive or negative, you can always put 1 underneath it. Then multiply across. That'll give you 12/7. Now we have an equation with fractions. We do not want fractions. We want to get rid of the fractions. Multiply each term by the LCD, which is 7. And then what happens here is that the 7's line out. Multiply these two numbers, negative 21, 12, that's all that's left here, and then b times 7, that will be 7b. Now get b by itself, subtract by 12 on both sides. Those are both negatives now, so two negatives we add. Negative 33 equals 7b. Divide by 7. So b equals negative 33 over 7. We have m and we have b. Now we could write it in y equals mx plus b, replacing the m and the b. So y equals 3/7, because that's our m, x minus b, and b is negative 33/7. So minus 33/7. Okay, so that's it for this video on equations of lines perpendicular to another line. See you here for the next video.